Nigeria, a vibrant tapestry of places, people, stories, struggles, and unshakable spirits. Politicians make promises, but who really holds them accountable? I'm Donny Kubara, and this isn't just about politics. This is about us. This is where we confront the hard truths that few say publicly. Okay, welcome to Nigeria Unfiltered. Okay, so I want to read you a passage from an article that was written last Sunday in this day newspaper by Chidi Amuta, a distinguished senior colleague of mine and a friend, one of the most talented writers and journalists this country has ever produced. And the title of the article he wrote is "Who is Scared of Peter Obi?" I'm not going to paraphrase it and summarize it for you because the words he used were just so perfect. Let me just read them to you. There is a novelty in today's political landscape in Nigeria. Real hard power is in the hands of President Tinubu, an elected leader. On the other hand, soft populist power is in the hands of an unelected aspirant to the throne, Mr. Peter Obi. For good or for ill, President Tinubu is ruling Nigeria, but Peter Obi is reigning all over the country. The name on nearly every lip on the Nigerian street or village bush path is that of Mr. Peter Obi, a man who has come to personify the dreams and longings of most ordinary Nigerians for the ideal leadership model for a nation tormented for so long by an embarrassing lack of purposeful and sincere leadership. Okay? The only quarrel I have with that paragraph is the fact that Chidi says Peter personifies the dreams and longings of ordinary Nigerians. I've noticed that it goes beyond that. He also personifies the dreams and longings of any decent Nigerian, including some rich ones or professional ones. It's not just people on the streets or in the villages. I've got so many friends, educated people, who are just desperate for change and think that Obi might be the one to deliver it. But anyway, so where do we start? You know, this paragraph, because I mean, there's a whole article, suggest you Google it and find it and read the whole thing. It's excellent. Or you can go to my Twitter feed or whatever they call these things, X, sorry, and look for the article. It's there in its entirety. I'm going to come up with a very unlikely and surprising comparison and say that this Chidi Amuta's article and the comments he made about Peter Obi reminds me of Diana, the late Princess of Wales, who was married to the man who is now King Charles of the United Kingdom. And you might recall that notoriously their marriage collapsed and she wound up dying in a car in Paris in an accident alongside another man. But that's not even the point. Her death is not the point. I just wanted to refresh your memories in case you had half forgotten who Diana was. The point is that Diana gave a very famous interview, I think to the BBC, when she was either already divorced or on the brink of getting divorced from Charles. And she said that because the marriage had not lasted, she knew she would never be Queen of England because that time his mother was still alive. So he was like the crown prince. And she knew that when his mother died and he became king, she would no longer be his wife. So she would never be Queen of England. But she said, I will, however, I hope, always be the Queen of Hearts. And what she meant by that was that she was very popular for her charity work and her love of people, the sick, the poor. And when she died, there was this huge outpouring of grief across the nation because she was indeed the Queen of Hearts. And I think Peter Obi is like that in the sense that he is the King of Hearts. He may never become president of Nigeria. I hope he does, but he may not. He certainly was prevented from winning any election in 2023 because, his opponents used every cheap tactic they could find to run him down and suppress his vote. That's my opinion, right? But the point being that Peter did not make it in 2023 and may not make it in 2027. But he is the King of Hearts in this country. He may never have that hard power, but he has soft power. He has the power he has emotional power. He has this very interesting and rare charisma that makes people love him and have faith in him. People who don't know him are so dedicated to him and passionate about him. Okay, I myself barely knew Peter Obi when he launched his 2023 presidential campaign in 2022. I met him briefly at things like funerals, and he was a friend of my cousin, Comfort Obi, no relation, by the way, despite the identical surname. And but there was something about him that made me decide I was just going to focus on supporting his ambition, even though I never had a conversation with him. It was only much later and more recently in the past year or two that I got to know Obi one-on-one. So I'm just telling you that you don't have to know Obi to get that vibe that makes you want to follow him. It's a little bit messianic, a bit like a messiah, and I don't mean that in a blasphemous Jesus Christ kind of way. I don't know if any of you know the poem called The Pied Piper of Hamelin, which is a European poem I learned at school in the UK about a guy who played his pipes, and all the children in the town of Hamelin in Germany just followed him, So anyway, Obi has that capacity to attract huge followership that feels for him. And in that sense, it's like Tinubu is the real king and Peter Obi is the King of Hearts. Just like Diana knew she was not going to be the real queen, and the real queen now is this lady called Camilla. But Diana knew she would always be the Queen of Hearts. So I think it's a great comparison or analogy, but tell me if you agree. In the meantime, let me tell you about a poll I conducted on X. Because there's been so much talk about this new coalition and where Peter Obi stands within it or in relation to it. So I was interested in hearing what the general public feels. Now, let me say, we all know that polls are not always reliable indicators of what will happen in a political scenario. But they're a useful way of capturing the thoughts of certain groups of people at particular points in time. And the question I asked was, should Peter Obi stay in the Labour Party or move fully into the coalition if he wants to be president in 2027? Because some of you, or most of you, will know that Peter is still in the Labour Party, but also somehow involved in the coalition. So these were the results. 44% said yes, he should stay in the Labour Party. 39% said no, he should move fully to the coalition. And then an interesting 17% said, who cares? Now, you may think who cares indicates that they don't care about Peter Obi, they don't care about politics, what is there? Oh no. From the responses, the follow-up responses we got underneath this poll, the people who said who cares were simply saying they didn't care whether Peter Obi stayed in the Labour Party or joined the coalition or continued to have one foot in each place, that even if he went to the moon, they would follow him. They would vote for him. And one guy even said, you know, I mean, I've heard this quite a few times privately. A lot of people have said it to me, is that to them, wherever he is where they are. But of course, there are people who have, you know, differing views. Some say that if he joins the coalition, they will kind of lose interest because there are too many old crooks in the so-called new coalition. Others say Labour Party is a mess. If he stays there, he can't make any progress. And, you know, there are different shades of opinion. But I'd say the majority of people are in favor of Obi staying with Labour and trying to make it by himself. So what do I think? Well, as far as I'm concerned, the Labour Party is an embarrassing disaster at the moment. And the person I blame mostly for this disaster is Julius Abure, the guy who is insisting that he's chairman despite all kinds of legal issues. I mean, it's never only one person's fault when things go wrong, but I think Abure is the biggest problem the Labour Party has right now, and I don't trust him. I believe people who think he's collecting money from Tinubu to undermine his party and undermine and prevent Peter Obi from making progress. But I still think that Peter Obi can tidy up this Labour Party mess. And I think for me, it would be better if he runs as a Labour Party candidate alongside Dati Baba Ahmed, the guy he ran with in 2023, who I find quite impressive. You know, I don't know him, but I think he's a good running mate. And I think the two of them, if they concentrate on cleaning that Labour Party mess up in the next couple of years, I think they can ride to victory on their own. I'm not sure that the coalition has that much to offer them, but obviously time will tell, and I'd love to hear your opinions. Thank you very much for listening.